Welcome to the Customer Management IQ video interview series. Joining me right now is Alex George, Vice President of Astute Solutions, and I'm your host, Corey Bennett. Alex helped present one of our masterclasses here on site at Call Center Week in Las Vegas. It was called Social CRM Setting Up for Success. Alex joins me now to talk a bit about that. Thanks for joining me, Alex.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. So I wanted to start off and just cover some of the generalities. What is the difference between conventional CRM, social CRM, and how do you know if you're a company, if it's time for you to start implementing a social CRM strategy?
Yeah, I think in terms of the big difference between social CRM and traditional CRM is that there's a lot more stakeholders involved in social CRM, and social CRM covers far more channels than traditional CRM does. The conversations are also a lot more ad hoc and a lot quicker with consumers. The second thing I'd say in terms of an implementation methodology is that unlike what has traditionally been the Big Bang approach for traditional CRM, we're finding that many customers are taking bite-sized chunks and doing very small implementations of CRM, of social. So they may start by actually having a Twitter strategy and then expanding to a Facebook strategy and then expanding to a blog strategy and so on. So it allows them to slowly implement a strategy and refine it as opposed to attempting to
reinvent the wheel right away.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you have decided that you do want to jump into social CRM, what are some of your preferred social media channels of engagement, and what have you found for companies that are the social media channels that have best return on profit and best ROI?
Yeah. So a couple things there. What we found is that obviously, Twitter and Facebook have been kind of the leaders in the space.
Sure.
But we've also found very much that for many companies, once they start actually looking at their data or monitoring where conversations are happening about their brand, we're finding that for different companies, it's actually happening in different places.
Interesting.
So there are some companies that sell wine, for example, that are finding blogs to be far more influential because that's really where the conversation is longer and more detailed, and we get into the structure of the taste of the bottle of wine.
Serious buyers.
Yes, exactly. And people are really influenced by these serious buyers.
Yeah.
And they take advice from these serious buyers. But as opposed to, you know, a brand where, like Dove, where the conversations are much quicker and much more on Twitter.
Sure. So once you have a social media CRM strategy in place, obviously you're going to want to monitor it, determine how successful it is. What are some of your best practices for benchmarking and for monitoring to determine if you're hitting what you want to with your social CRM?
Yeah. So I think that really, again, depends on how you've established your strategy.
Of course.
For many companies, kind of the starting point is just to understand how many followers and how many viewers they have on each of these different networks. And that just helps you establish kind of a baseline in terms of viewers or in terms of reach, for the lack of a better term. The next level in terms of engagement and activity and actual repurchase intent becomes much more unique based on the enterprise or based on the vertical that you're in.
Okay.
And we're noticing that customers are actually being able to suggest, for example, that if I coupon, it's really interesting to see how many people purchase that coupon and use that coupon. And that can be done directly out of social CRM, which, unlike traditional CRM, was a little harder to track.
Yeah. And I know you guys at Astute have a monitoring platform that can cover hundreds of social engagement channels.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about how that monitoring platform works and how it's actually implemented?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really three big things. The first is monitoring, and we monitor about 150 million consumer-generated content sites, and we're continuing to expand that set. So that's really where, as I was saying before, for some customers, Twitter's a big deal.
Yeah.
For some other customers, a blog may be a big deal. And we can really help customers figure that out. The second step is in terms of we provide relationship management functions. So that's everything from being able to respond directly out of the software, integrate into your existing traditional CRM infrastructure, but also one of the things we found unique in this space has been that unlike traditional CRM, social CRM involves stakeholders like legal, maybe even your digital marketing agency, who would never log into your CRM. So social CRM has to provide you the tools to allow all of these people to participate in the conversation, or all these stakeholders to participate in this conversation, and integrate it into the CRM, so the CRM always remains that repository of the history of the conversation. So that's the second area of functionality we provide. And finally, we provide lots of analytics. So we can actually compare how people feel about, you know, one customer's product in the context of another product, whether people like a Big Mac better than the Whopper. By the way, interestingly, did you know that generally people feel that the Whopper is more valuable, but the Big Mac is more tasty?
That's got to be all marketing. It's got to be all marketing, because I have no opinion either way.
Well, okay, the war continues.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I know some people who are trying to dip their toes into social CRM, they'll maybe start out with something like Facebook Analytics or like Hootsuite or a free social media monitoring platform. What is your opinion on these? What are the drawbacks and what are their limitations?
Yeah, so there's a number of products out there that can do this, and I think really the challenge comes in terms of understanding where the conversations are happening. Hootsuite's wonderful at managing Twitter.
Sure.
The challenge is, what if the conversations aren't in Twitter? What if the conversations are on Tumblr or on a blog or somewhere else? It's also really important to begin to get that kind of context. The second is, Hootsuite doesn't provide kind of enterprise level integration into an existing CRM. And the third thing I'd point out is that as you begin to think of the solutions, please remember that the volume of interactions or the volume of activity is going to increase very significantly. About 20 million tweets per month now are aimed at enterprises asking for advice. So no enterprise has the resources to read 20 million tweets. It's significant. So having ACD-like tools where we can sort the ones we want to respond to against the ones we don't want to respond to, and only present to an agent or whomever else just the, the actionable tweets is really important. Unlike traditionally free tools, which will just give you the list of 20 million tweets.
Of course, and as people realize they can actually get something out of engaging a company through social media, they're going to do much more.
Even more, exactly.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, that's all I've got. Thanks so much for joining me today, Alex. I appreciate you sharing your insight.
No problem at all. Thank you very much for having me again.
Sure. And to our viewers out there, you can check out more of our videos at customermanagementiq.com. Once again, I'm your host. Until next time, thanks for watching.